All right, John here. Tonight, joined with.
Matt Thomas, the Rambo Manian from Studio Red Band. Glad to be here. Happy holidays, happy, safe, and hopefully better 2021 with the great.
Greetings and salutations once again, fellow YouTubers. Your favorite cybernetic extraterrestrial, Wildmanbeyond, on Earth again. Happy New Year.
And it's great to have Wildmanbeyond back. And tonight we're going to jump back on the podcast that me and Matt kind of started back in October, 5-minute films, where we take a look at every 5 minutes of a film and examine certain scenes, highlight different scenes and moments, but also talk about the movie, add thoughts, discussion, questions, what have you. And we're going to continue on with Demolition Man. And Wildmanbeyond tonight is joining with us. And yeah, this is going to be fun. And I was telling Wildman beforehand, I was like, any sort of thoughts you have about the film or what we're going to talk about here, feel free to interject, and as well as Matt here. So yeah, this is going to be fun. But before we get into some of the notes here and stuff, and we're kicking off from the 10-minute mark of the film, and I know maybe for Wildman it's been a minute, but what are your thoughts on Demolition Man, Wildman, before we get into it?
The whole movie or the opening?
I guess first thoughts, or when you think back on the movie.
It was definitely one of those movies I enjoyed watching. I mean, Sylvester Stallone, he really showed. Yeah, he did comedy. He did stuff with My Mom Will Shoot. And I'll be honest, I never really had a problem with that movie, but I heard over the years that this was his best comedic performance, and I kind of agree. I really enjoyed him more in this than the other comedies he did. He did have some comic stuff, and it wasn't really a comedy. There was comedy in it, but it was an action movie, and of course that same year he came out with Cliffhanger. And
I'm actually starting a Cliffhanger podcast soon.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm looking forward
awesome.
to. I want to join that. And of course, his rival Arnold came out with Lax Action Hero, which I will agree it was very mistreated. It's a very underrated movie. I don't get why people shit on that. It's very underrated.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I think even we mentioned this before. I mean, what a great year for him with Demolition Man and Cliffhanger. I mean, you can't go wrong with that double.
And gearing up for Rambo 4 Gale Force version at that time also. That didn't happen.
He was supposed to do Rambo 4 that year?
It started like Jack, Happy New Year, Jack.
Yeah, shout out to Jack Craven.
Yeah, Craven the Raven. Thank you so much for your info, man. We really owe you one.
Yeah, Jack sent me this amazing Starlog piece from that year. I think it was from that year. When they were talking like about Cliffhanger and Demolition Man time. I think it was from the set of Demolition Man. And in that he talks a little bit about doing a version of Rambo 4 which was based on Gale Force. And I don't know, it's kind of, when you read it, there's a lot of scenes that feel like a Rambo movie. Like, really feel like, man, if we would have got that in a Rambo movie, that would have been really cool. But at the same time, it's hard because it's like the setting, his home setting would have been on a like offshore kind of, like a marine town kind of thing. And his brother, was involved. I know Pyramid had touched a bit on it on his fucking amazing Rambo 4 episode. Pyramid Head, man, if you're watching, I just gotta say that was hands down probably the best Rambo video I've ever seen anyone do.
And shout out to his channel.
Yeah, that was, if you haven't seen that, please go watch that. And after you watch that, petition for him to do the Rambo 5 one, and you got to see also his ISO bar video. His ISO bar video is just wow. It's like off the hook, like off the hook. I was gonna do ISO bar, and then when I saw his video, I was like, man, that's just he just lays it all out for you. So it saved me a lot of work. That's one I've always wanted to do. You know, like yeah. But just wow, just what I love about Pyramid Head is he takes the time. Like he'll go back. You can tell, like a lot of people say, oh, you know, you guys are podcasters. You just push a button and that's it. No, there's a lot. Like tonight, even with this Demolition Man stuff, you're gonna see there's a lot of work that goes into this, and he does like he'll read through everything. You know, he'll read. Not just, sometimes they do like 4 or 5 different scripts a show, you know, for one show, for one thing. And that's, you know, when you're looking at, you know, 5 hours to read per script and then doing your notes and, you know, syncing up with the other co-host and making sure they get, you know, their side of everything done and getting everything together. It's just a really great feat. And I love that because you don't see a lot of that anymore. Like people who will, you know, like the projection booths and stuff like that, who will go back and like look up insane amounts of hours of research for an hour or 2 hours.
Speaking of projection booth, I listened to the podcast. That is a great show.
Yeah, their Rambo episode is pretty good also, let me say, with David Morrell and Zachary Oberzon and a couple other great, like, that's the one. Jack.
He had David Morrell on.
Yeah. The projection booth has so many. Like their Get Carter, they have John McGinty on there. Their Get Carter is fucking off the hook. They have an amazing Demolition Man one. The Demolition Man one is really good. Like for the Demolition Man stuff I've been trying to put together, a lot of research came from there. Like I already had my research down, but then when I heard their take on it, I was like, wait a second, there's so many other things here that no one touched upon. You know, that led to us getting the water script for the Demolition Man that we're going to talk about with John here. A lot of the things that I kind of tried to bring to this came from that also. So those are definitely episodes you should check out. The Projection Booth is a really, really great podcast. I'm surprised it's not bigger than it is. You know, I reached out to Mr. White, and maybe we'll get to talk to him in the future. He seemed down for it, but it's, I guess, with everything going on right now with the lockdown and everything, I know scheduling is hard for people right now.
Okay, that'll be but going back to my overall of the film, I really enjoyed that version of the future and how it's it's good that we're talking about this again because it's totally relevant to where we are now in real life.
Yeah, especially in regards to technology. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, the director must have had like a time travel machine or something because, you know, you wonder like how in the world. I mean, you got the fiber optic little computer thing, which is kind of a precursor to FaceTime and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I know in the Projection Booth they go into what the 3 seashells, the origin of the 3 seashells and all that. So,
oh my God!
I would just like to interject that stupidly I forgot to put my notes for tonight on my phone, so it's all on my other computer. So tonight I might not have that many things I can jump in with just from memory, but I promise next time I'll make it up, and when, you know, before we go into it, I'll throw in some of those other things from the other scripts, like the Van Damme, Seagal. Apparently there's a Schwarzenegger version now. I'm looking for that one.
There was a Schwarzenegger version of Demolition Man?
Yeah, apparently he got it first, and then it went to Van Damme and Seagal, and then it went to Stallone.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Which is interesting is even, to give you guys and people out there listening a little bit of reference, I'm looking at notes that I've written down, like highlight certain scenes. there's also a website where I found every piece of dialogue from the movie verbatim, and there's the Daniel Waters screenplay that I'm also looking at for reference, because there's certain elements in the screenplay, which was written, I think, in like November of '92, and there are certain elements in that which are not in the film, which I'll point out here that I found. So,
Okay.
what were you saying? Whoever.
Oh, and also, I found 2 other books. Well, one that we talked about, Brave New World, and another one called The Sleeper Awakes, I think by H.G.
Yeah,
Wells.
that was my inspiration for Demolition Man. That was the inspirations for those books. And I think Sandra Bullock's character, her last name Huxley, was a character from one of those books.
Yeah, from Brave New World. That's a very weird book. I'm trying to get through them because I want to review them. I might, because I have audio rips of them, I might just put those on my channel and do kind of like this is like, you guys can follow along with me instead of having to like go through and read everything and just listen to it, then come back and give my take on it after, like very quickly. But yeah, that's a good, that's a good 8 to 10 hours of pre-Demolition Man for you. And I was telling John earlier that there was a prequel excerpt. I don't remember if we talked about it last time. It was very much a long time ago, but and that was actually in my notes for tonight. There's a prequel excerpt. So next time when we come back, we can do the prequel. We could do the how Los Angeles became Los Angeles in the beginning of the movie.
That'd be interesting to hear.
And speaking of what you said about the opening, that looking back at that scene now, it was so bone chilling. It was mesmerized because the violence and how the city was burned down. Going back to how this movie is relevant, is not just relevant with technology; it's relevant to where we are now with society. How everybody is angry, everybody's burning stuff down, they have these strict rules, these SJW bullshit ass rules.
It kind of felt like that too,
Yeah.
like it was based around these 3 rights that literally reformed time for that era, right? I did a read through of it on my channel if people want to check it out. It's on archive.org. I guess you would look up Demolition Man prequel, Riot Trilogy, and since it's around cliffhanger time too, I did a prequel analysis for Cliffhanger. There's a little bit more. I know, like when we did the Jack thing, we talked more about the prequel, right? Like with the dam and everything, and how Walker got into what he was doing. But have you ever noticed that hat that he wears in the movie? That green hat. That hat would
he was first climbing up the mountain to the rescue. That was fake.
Yeah. I did a read through on this. You can find it at the same place at archive.org, Studio Red Band. That hat, I don't even know how he got that hat for the movie, because it's got to be a prop replica, because there was only something like 500 of those hats made and given out. And that was from the Bone Baffin expedition from the Nunavut, and I should be able to pronounce that better because I'm Indian, but like these were Arctic expeditions, right? Like these archaeologists would come in for these expeditions through the treacherous, horrible, unwalkable Arctic, and they would bring in these climbers and stuff to guide them through. And what they would do was they would scout different locations in the snow lines, and they would unearth fossils and dinosaur bones.
Oh.
In the Arctic. So Gabe was part of this Arctic expedition before the Cliffhanger movie.
You know what? That's interesting, because think about it. This Cliffhanger came out in 1993, and guess what movie also came out that year? Can you imagine if there was a cliff crossover with those 2 movies?
That'd be interesting.
That would have been so epic. They could still do that with these new Jurassic Park movies coming out, and Stallone still want to do another cliffhanger. Why not?
And with deepfake technology, you know, they could do the prequel. They could, you know, maybe go back and shoot some prequel stuff like for cliffhanger.
Absolutely. You know, you can still get Sly, but you can like de-age or defake his face and everything.
And I really feel
what they did, kind of like what they did with Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, like a lot of people are giving the new cliffhanger crap. I don't even know if they're still going to do it now. But all I have to say is, I like that team of Liliana Poor and Jason Momoa, and like I started watching her last movie that they teamed up on, and it was so gut wrenching that I had to turn it off after 10 minutes. I couldn't watch. It was called The Bad Batch. I couldn't watch more than the first 10 minutes. It hurt to watch it.
I heard it was a really offbeat movie.
I think that's a good team because the original. I remember being a kid and that original cliffhanger kind of freaked me out in a couple of ways, right? So psychologically, I think it's a good team.
I haven't heard anything about it in like a couple of years. But I'm sorry. What were we saying?
Oh, sorry. Just that, you know.
Are you good?
I'd like to see them do it. I think if, you know, it's weird because like there was another cliffhanger script. There was a third cliffhanger, right? And I'm guessing it was a passage of the torch, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Vertical Limit.
That's a very underrated movie. I really enjoyed that movie. I really enjoyed that.
That's a movie I've never seen, but I've seen so many scenes from.
What about? Yeah. I haven't seen this movie. What about Extreme Ops? What about that one?
Never seen.
I haven't seen that.
I've heard of it though.
I need to check that one out.
We went from Demolition Man to Extreme Ops. But hey, it's all
I
good.
tried to look for some Demolition Man action those He-Man because I'm starting to collect He-Man again.
I was aware that the He-Man toys, the new Adventures of He-Man toys, they recreated as the Demolition Man.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my hands on some of those, but they don't come cheap.
I remember getting those for Christmas back when I think around '93 when the movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe at some point, like we'll get more information on that. But
now with the Origins reissue, right? I just saw a thing before, like where they were gonna go, like what the next He-Man was gonna be, and I didn't get a chance to watch it all. It's on my timeline, so it should be like the last video I put up. And there was fucking dinosaurs and giants, and like they were gonna do the hero storyline, like He-Man's son, and like there's action figures and stuff made, and it just never came out.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Like,
are you good?
What minute? What's our?
Oh,
what happens next in Demolition?
Okay.
Where are we in Demolition?
We're at the 10-minute mark, actually. This is where
in the SJW.
SJW. No, we're put the SJW and Cryptofree. What the fuck is it called? Yeah, Cryo-Freeze. But anyway, all right. So to the 10-minute mark, we see Spartan and Cryo-Freeze, and I'm sort of just going through scenes here, highlighting moments. Now, I have to wonder, because as we're seeing here from the 10-minute mark of the film, we see Spartan and Cryo-Freeze, and they're filling it up with this goop. I don't know, for lack of a better word. What do you think this idea, like, I mean, it seems Carbonite inspired, but I guess for you guys, and I know for Matt here, being more insight of the film, like, do you think it was inspired by the writers, or what do you think this came from? The idea of concept of cryo-freeze.
You know what? I think I like the idea of cryo-freeze. You know what? I think where it came from, and of course, the first movie to give it highlight was Alien, the Alien franchise.
I remember. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really, really good point.
Because I don't think because even before we were talking about, like before the 10-minute mark, we see him go into cryo freeze, but I don't think we ever addressed it, like the concept of cryo freeze, because we really haven't seen, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of that since.
You know what? That's funny because if you watch both Aliens and Demolition Man, Ripley and John Spartan, they did not age. They were there. They were in cryosuite for a long time, and when they woke up, some of the people that they knew died or they got old. I really like that idea of when they put you in the cryosleep, you won't age. But there was this one movie they also had that concept. You remember this movie with Mel Gibson called Forever Young?
Yeah. I was actually thinking about that the other day. I saw that
good movie.
Twice, I think I saw that in the theater.
That's a good one.
No one talks about that movie. Elijah Wood was in it when he was a kid. Jamie Lee Curtis was in it. It was a very good story. I really liked how they used the cryo thing in a different genre. I really liked how it was a love story, and then he wakes up and then he realizes that everything the woman he loved was gone, but he realized when he got older that she was still alive, and they came back together. I thought that was a very good movie. No one talks about it.
I think it came out the same year, believe it or not, or a year later.
It came out the same year, 1993.
So,
right.
93 was the year of cryo freeze, I guess.
Absolutely.
I remember Lemkov saying that they had this big Walt Disney gag. Like they were fascinated about the Walt Disney thing. So I think maybe that plays a trickle into it. But I just, on my phone, I just went back and looked up some stuff here. And there's another deleted scene.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So after the last deleted scene we talked about was Katie getting played by, here, not the great Elizabeth Ruscio, but later on the great Elizabeth Ruscio. He gives her his badge and his hat and says, like, hang on to this for me. It's his daughter. And he kisses his daughter and his wife goodbye, and they bring him to the cryo freeze. But here, there's a scene where, as you can see, Sly comes in the room and he says it's pretty damn cold in here, and they're getting ready to freeze him. And the guy reading his sentence says, "John Spartan, you have done great deeds for the city of Los Angeles, so it is with some regret that I explain your sentence." And he goes on to say that, you're very lucky. And then he says, "You've been selected to participate in an experiment in enlightened peniology." And Sly looks up at this guy, horrifically frozen, and he says, "Oh, lucky, you mean like this guy?" Who's like all fucked up in the cryo. And it goes on to, they have this whole other, longer deleted scene that goes with that.
I want to add something to what you said. You remember the scene? You remember the scene in Taco Bell where Spartan talked about how he had dreams and nightmares, and they said that's impossible for you to. Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and it kind of leads to that corporate thing of today. Like, what are they going to check? Like, they have enough that they could just put you away. They're not going to, try to race the Senate on that, right? They, who cares if it's safe? They're criminals, right? So they could theoretically say, "Oh yes, it's very safe," when really it wouldn't be. And
because that's they want to have them suffer, even despite the fact that you're frozen, that you can still suffer. It's a lot. So of course, in the beginning, a lot of people who were victims of crime, if they put criminals to sleep, they thought, "Oh, that's like an easy way for them to get out." But no, you can still suffer if you have nightmares and shit like that.
Yeah. And I like it leads up to that great. I know, like that great scene from the Van Damme Seagal script was that you don't know that Seagal, the Demolition Man, has been thawed out. You don't know that yet, right? Because it's just been Van Damme running amok everywhere. Van Damme decides he's going to go back and fucking kill Spartan. His name in it was Simone Set, which they changed to Phoenix, before he can escape. Not escape, but before they can thaw him out, because he knows that is, a possibility that they might send him after him. So he goes to the cryo facility, and at this point, you really do think that Seagal is still in the puck, right? So he goes in and he does this weird thing where he starts disabling all the equipment. So people start waking up from cryostasis. So people are starting to come out of cryostasis, all the criminals, but they're still frozen. So like one guy will move and then his body will split in half and fall on the ground, and another guy's legs will fall off, and the whole cryo prison. He kills everyone in the cryo prison. He's just going from fucking tank to tank, trying to kill Spartan, and like everybody's like freezing and like their bodies are all falling apart around them, and it's very gruesome and horrific. And I thought that, man, that could have been a really great scene. I know like Lemkoff was saying that it was supposed to be a much darker film. And
Lemkoff was the writer, right?
Yeah. But when Waters came on, they really watered it down.
So no pun intended, right?
No pun intended. So,
but still, it ended up perfect. It ended up because it, like I said, it dealt. When you talk about watering it down, it really like going back with the SJW stuff. But it was R-rated. They were channeling of the bullshit that we're dealing with now with this SJW horse shit.
Yeah, but. Yeah. In regards to the cryo freeze, was it ever said, like when Stallone had to get into the pod or whatever? Was it ever mentioned what the material was? Like what did he have to?
I thought it was just regular water. I just thought it was regular water.
I don't know, just sort of a random thought, because it looks quite thick for water, don't it?
Oh, and it says here that even. You know how, like Isaiah was saying, about the nightmares and all that? It says that it's only starting for you, John. When you serve your sentence, you'll be a better man, rehabilitated by subliminal programming while you sleep or slept, right? But they changed the font to that to look very, very eerie. I don't know if you can see that.
And what is that? Is that from the comic?
Yeah. I'm trying to see if there's anything about the ooze. No, the fluid is cold. A cold beyond coldness. He thought he was ready for anything, but he was wrong. He was anything but ready. There is no defense against this. It seizes him whole, stops him dead. His blood freezes hard. They could smash him if they wanted into a million splinters. And it goes, and then he's freezing. And it goes on to say a single drop of reactant hits the super cool solution. Instantly, all this cryo solution at zero, sir, and he's frozen. And they say he's frozen solid. Says their machines will whisper to his helpless mind, but he will never give in.
Interesting.
He continued. Yeah. Whatever it takes, he will remember. To be continued. So I guess that's 5 minutes.
Yeah, but, very, very deep. That's very deep. Yeah.
And sort of going from that. Continuing from that 10-minute mark, we have a little bit of the score. We fast forward to 2032. It's in the future. And there's a piece of dialogue here which is in the movie, but not in that Daniel Waters screenplay. I don't know if Matt can elaborate more on this, but there's a piece of dialogue that says, the next scheduled parole hearing for prisoner Gilmore will take place at 07:15. And I'm like, well, let me see if this is in that Daniel Waters screenplay. And I guess it was added later because I could not find it.
Maybe so. I don't know if we talked about last time, if we talked about the Demolition Man 2 news, but it came out that they're going with a running gag that the people had on set. When I talked to Rhino a couple of years ago, back in 2016, I think, he was saying that the running gag was, we're going to make a sequel and we're gonna have all the Cryocons DNA put into a new Simon Phoenix, so they would bring Wesley back. And I think it was right around the time we did the last episode, Sly said that that's what they were going to do. And I couldn't believe it when I heard it. I was like, really? You guys are going to, wow. And then I know
they planned a sequel for Demolition Man too. It was supposed to be like that.
They planned a couple. Like Brian Stews from Stallone the Action Icon. He was saying that, you know, maybe it would be Little America because it kind of has that kind of feel. I went out and picked up the script for that, and it does have that kind of feel. I did a reading of the original reviews that were going around for it, where it had concept art and all that kind of stuff with it, and I could see that being a Demolition Man movie. Maybe Spartan is traveling the world now, trying to fix other parts of the world, and maybe, you know, it's cool because he would get to be teamed up with a female Asian superstar. So this would be great to have maybe like Julia Nixon come back. You know,
that'd be interesting.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
Like back in the day, maybe.
It would be interesting that he goes around different countries that probably have those shitty SJW rules as well. He has to deal with that while looking for these criminals.
The concept art for it was very beautiful. I have to say that it was very Blade Runner, and it's weird because like when you go back and read those early Lemkov scripts, you kind of get that feel like that, like not Blade Runner yet, but it could be Blade Runner in like 50 years from now if they pushed it. There's that script has just a really, really, really great feel. People like, if you want to read it, just type in Peter Lemkov Demolition Man, and you should get that script. It's not a downloadable one. I think it's one that you can just read, but you can copy and paste it. You know, it's pretty fucking good. I gotta say, like, we should have got that movie because that's one. If you could say, okay, what's one Stallone movie maybe you would want to trade? I would say I would definitely trade that Demolition Man for that Demolition Man because it's like finally you get to see that showdown between Seagal and Van Damme that everyone's always been waiting for. In fact, they could do, if they just changed John Spartan's name, Seagal's name, to a new name, they could just make that movie now.
Yeah, you have Stallone team up with Seagal. Or I don't know how they're going to do that now with Seagal.
They could have the Van Damme Seagal movie now. And they could even put it in the same universe as Demolition Man because it's so different. You know, like little parts of it are essentially the same, but it's so different that it stands as, I look at it as like just a different Demolition Man movie. Like it could have took place in the same, and there's like weird little jabs in it. Like there's one part where someone's watching I Love Rocky Balboa sitcom.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, there's some great scenes, like just really great scenes. You know, like the Lenina character, she's not really in it, but it's more like Benjamin Bratt's character who has to go around with the Demolition Man, and he makes him do some stupid shit. He's like, I really need a cigarette, and he's like, well, you know, smoking is illegal here. You can't smoke here anymore. He's like, okay, let's go to the seedy side of town. You're gonna buy me a pack of cigarettes, and he like makes him spend his whole paycheck on a pack of cigarettes. You know, like
Benjamin Bratt's character would still be like that because you remember at the end of the movie he became like, you know, what the underground. You know, he said fucking A and all that. I don't know how he would still be in that mindset.
Yeah. Another thing, speaking of Benjamin Bratt, which was really cool, is just quickly I started. I'm starting to go through those Smallville comics. There's so many of them, like the continuation of Smallville, like the Superman Smallville, and there's just so many. I'm starting to do them really slowly, like the Judge Dredd's. There's just so many of them. I gotta do them really slowly, and Benjamin Bratt comes in as Batman.
Oh my god!
And he.
Oh, sorry.
I know, but I was about to say, yeah, we're gonna get to Benjamin Bratt, and he comes in like after the 15-minute mark here.
So you got Benjamin Bratt as Batman, you got Tom Welling as Superman, and let me tell you, it is their version of Batman. Wow, I wish that show would have went on another year, because if it would have went on another year, we would have seen all those great, like, it's just like a love letter. You know, Wonder Woman's, everybody's in there. So anyway, that's save that for that.
Are you
Sorry,
fine?
I
Are
trapped
you good? I told you guys anytime you want to, add some thought. But I'll kind of skim through real quick. But after that piece of dialogue that I said that wasn't in the screenplay, you actually do see in the movie there's a Simon Phoenix sighting at the bottom of the screen. So I don't know, but yeah, I was able to spot that.
Nice.
And then you get a fiber op incoming call from Sandra Bullock's character, which at this time, who knew that a year later she would go on to break out with Speed. But I mean, you can't get no better than 93 Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, because because I believe that's how she got the job for Speed in the first place, was because of Demolition Man. That was the first movie I truly did. Introduced me to her. Yeah, Speed is a good movie. That's what made her a star. But that was the movie. Demolition Man was what put her on the radar for her to do Speed.
And I have a little bit more info on that when I talk about that again, Speed, which will come a little bit later.
Yeah, I do a special show we talk about Speed, because I have some stories I discovered about Speed as well, about who was supposed to play this, who was supposed to play that.
I had a great time.
I was just watching Speed the other night. I was just watching Speed on the Sci-Fi Channel for the New Year's. It was just on the other night on the New Year's. It was part of a New Year's marathon, like they'd have that Twilight Zone marathon every year on the Sci-Fi Channel, and they had Speed on there.
I love classic. But like I said, I have a little information on Speed that I'll get to. But this is kind of where we get into some dialogue between her and the Warden Smithers. We get mellow greetings and be well and stuff like that.
There's a deleted scene from there too.
Yeah, there's actually a character that's mentioned, I believe, in the screenplay, but not mentioned in the movie. Like, I think in the screenplay there's a character by the name of Horace Bateman.
Yeah,
a prisoner.
Okay, no, this is someone else. Okay, sorry.
Let me see if I can find it real quick. What were you saying, Matt?
Well, there's the Pipe Man, which he was the one who was saying, he's kind of like Warden Smithers' side guy. He was the one who was saying that you're very lucky, John Spartan. But there's a continuation to that, except for instead of her talking to Warden Smithers, she's talking to this pipe guy, right? And right before he goes to do the parole for Wesley Snipes, he's here with the Demolition Man. So maybe this guy is the guy who maybe we'll find out that this guy is the guy who switched all the gave Wesley all the good shit and gave Sly all the bad shit. Maybe this is where he's doing a little fail safe on Sly, just in case Sly has to go track down Wesley. Maybe he'll throw a little mud in his eye and help out for the Cocteau plan, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to find that character's name, Horace Bateman, because it was here in the screenplay that was mentioned. I guess it was a prisoner that was up for parole, but it was never. It was mentioned in the screenplay, not mentioned in the film. So I don't. But anything you guys want to add?
Oh yeah, here's Horace right here. Here's Horace.
What does it say? What is
okay,
it?
So he's with John Spartan. He's got Lenina on the iPhone, on the FaceTime, on the Zoom call, and he's telling her about how they're ice cubes and how they kind of look at them, and they don't look at them as humans anymore. And then that's the first time you see the eye scan, because he goes from the room that Spartan's in to the room that Wesley's in. But first he makes a little pit stop here with Horace. Says, "Oh sure, you'll be well yourself. Well, this is our first hearing. My doesn't he look bright and chipper? Let's get on with it. Mr. Horace Bateman, 29 years, and also, 29 years ago, the parole system, as you know it, was rendered obsolete. Federal Statute 53729 requires we go through the formality of a hearing with all the prisoners incarcerated before the reappeal of the parole laws." So I guess that's a way of saying that they're going to fuck them. They're going to fuck them. So Cocteau Behavioral Engineering will continue rehabilitation by altering your behavior through synaptic suggestion during cryosleep. Do you understand what I said? Guards nod his head for him. I guess he's paralyzed. Your hearing is over. You are to be returned to your cryo cell immediately. Nighty-night. Next. Mr. Simon Phoenix, one of our finest and most illustrious guests. Let's get this one quick and over with. And it's almost like Wesley's learning to talk again. He's like, illustrious guest.
Now, there's a character, I think they show one guy.
Horace does come back, though, at the end.
Okay, I don't know who plays Horace. But yeah, that was interesting to find that in the screenplay, which, again, was not in the film. But, again, you get a little bit more dialogue between Huxley and the warden. And then you have some different dialogue where right before Huxley gets to the main station, the police station, the dialogue is a little bit different in the screenplay compared to the film, where she's kind of like, back talking at the car a little bit, the self-drive car, which,
yeah.
And now, I mean, they're trying to do that, but they keep failing.
I think if we wanted to try and find Horace, I think the best thing to do it would be the round table where all the villains are sitting at that table.
Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's Jesse Ventura's character. I don't know.
That's another one, like Entertainment Tonight, and they were like, Jesse was like,
he looks like a horse.
Yeah. They're like, Jesse, can you tell us anything about the fight with you and Sly? And he's like, no. If you want to see the battle of the century between Jesse the Body Ventura, you're going to have to buy a ticket. And then everybody bought their ticket, and it wasn't in the fucking movie. But it's in the comic book.
It was in the fucking deleted scene.
Yeah, it's in the comic book. All the best villain. Everybody, they took out everybody. They took out Jack. Well, Jack Black was a good guy, but they took him out. They took out, like Rhino Michaels. He had an amazing ending scene, and they took his whole scene out. They took out, they took out all those other crowd cons. They took out Elizabeth Ruscio. Like, come on. Like, she's the heart of the movie. Why take her out? And then they just say, okay, we're going to do a sequel, this other sequel, but we're going to get Glenn Close instead. And I'm like, what the fuck were they thinking? Thank God they never made that movie. But she is the one who brings it back together. There's a scene, the scene at the end of the movie where Demolition Man's sitting in the car and he's getting ready to go after Simon Phoenix, and he's like, to send the maniac, you got, to catch maniac, you got to send a maniac, and he's got like that hat. He's got that hat on and everything. There's a deleted scene right before that, where he's like, I need a gun. I need 2 guns. Like that scene.
Yeah, it was in the TV spot. He was carrying the revolver. Yeah.
Yeah, in that scene, they cut it out. But right after that, when he's getting ready to leave, Elizabeth Ruscio comes up to him and she's like, Dad, there was a time when, you told me, to look after this for you. I kept it for you. And she gives him the hat and the badge back, and she puts it on his head, and she redons him as the Demolition Man. And then he goes off to get Simon Phoenix. And it's like,
that would have been fucking epic. Oh my God.
Why did you take that out? Like, there's so many, all the great Elizabeth Ruscio scenes they took out. And I know, like, they were saying, okay, well, we're really, a lot of people think that, Sandra Bullock, they're going to think that Sandra Bullock is the daughter. And that's kind of taboo.
Fucking kid. Whoa, fucking.
Like, well, they had sex later.
Yeah. It's like, you had the daughter character in there, and it's not like, it was like 2 hours of footage. It was maybe all of the scenes together would have been like 3 minutes. And they were the most impactful scenes. Those are the scenes that show John Spartan's humanity. Like, those are the scenes that show his what he's really all about. He's not just this guy who goes around destroying things. He's, these are the scenes that make him relate to us. Like the little girl, and she's like, "Fuck you, lady." Like, those are the scenes that give him more gravitas as a human being. And I just think it was a really missed opportunity that not only would they take out a great actress like that, but they took out the heart, like the feeling, like the essence of why he would want to come back and save this future.
Yeah, because I'm sorry. Go ahead, John. You go ahead.
No, say it would have made for a great moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to when going back what you said, how it drove him to save the sea, because he said he had that line when he was driving with Sandra Bullock in the car. I always had dreams of my daughter, make sure she grew up in a place like this. And also I want to add something else. I saw some YouTube videos about deleted scenes from Demolition Man. Of course, there are some scenes involving his daughter where Wesley Snipes is shooting at him, and he grabs that one girl and she's screaming, and you see that desperation to protect her.
Yeah.
Other scene, the scene at the end where he tells them how you gotta find a way to work together. She's in that scene, but they cut her out. And there is a scene right after the Dennis Leary leaves, and before Sandra Bullock walks up to kisses him, there is a scene where the daughter walks up to him and she says, "You want to have dinner later?" And then you see someone walking past Sandra Bullock. That was her.
Mm-hmm.
That was her. That you see someone walking right past Sandra Bullock before she's about to come up and kiss him. That was That was Barton's daughter.
You know what I like about her character in there is that all these other, like the rest of the world was brainwashed, and she kept enough of the old world, like I guess through her dad's teachings or wanting to hold on to that thing of her dad, that she grew up, I don't want to say street smart, but she grew up smarter, like in a scenario where it was, even though she didn't have all the luxuries, she was free. She got to grow up looking at things for what they were.
Exactly.
Well, that's interesting, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little bit more left here. We do see LA, and a lot of the population is like in togas, which is interesting. Like,
yeah.
And what I read, a little note on that the civilian costumes were inspired by Japanese styles, and they assumed clothes would have more fabric to protect people from the damaged ozone layer.
I don't know in that version if it go, because we're getting into meeting Cocteau, right? I don't know if it has it in that version, but the Riot trilogy version I was telling you about earlier, the prequel, Demolition Man prequel one, they go in a little bit and talk about Cocteau, and I think, is the guy's name Odo?
Yeah, Odo. Oh,
yeah.
Otho. The character's name in Demolition Man leaves me at the second. I mean, he'll come up a little bit later, but
like Cocteau was such a fucking power freak, like that. Even
I know what you're about to say because I've read that information too.
Yeah, he was such a fucking power freak that he wouldn't even let, like, no one was allowed to upstage him. So Otho, in taking the job, had to agree to be castrated, and they castrate Otho, and dehumanize him that way, so that he's nothing but the right-hand man of Cocteau. Like, literally, it's pretty powerful. Like, I don't know, like when you see Otho, he's chipper, but in a way you can kind of see he's kind of jaded, and I wonder if they actually talked about that aspect of the character with him. Like, I wonder if maybe he tried to play it like that. Like did he know that going in, or it's very cryptic. I already give enough to my job. I can't imagine having to fucking chop my cock off. Fuck.
Yeah.
But
and then we see like this like machine come out of the ground to spray graffiti on the sign there. It says Ethica Plaza, and we see down below subterranean we hear, well, first that we hear a little bit of voiceover from this character, and then we come to find out it's Dennis Leary, his character Edgar Friendly, which in the script, the screenplay, his name is Thomas Paine.
That, like I said, that sounds such like a Rocky character name.
But I think before that, wait a second, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit, or I think maybe somewhere in this time frame, I think we see Rob Schneider's character.
Yeah, I think so.
I think between the 10 and 15 minute mark, but in a little note with that, Rob Schneider had became friends with Sandra Bullock, and he had reservations about her doing, in quotes, some bus movie. If you know what I'm referring to. Oh, he's like, I don't think that would take off. I don't think that's right for you. And then what happened? You know, Speed became a big success. And I think, interestingly, if I can get that word out, I think Rob Schneider made a line in the film where he says how much society has changed over 30 odd years. And when you see this character answering a call into the police department, he tells the caller, "You have reached the San Angeles Police Department. If you would prefer an automated response, press 1 now." And then later, while they gather police are watching the live feed of officers failing in their attempt to arrest Phoenix, he notes that they are police officers who aren't trained for this kind of violence. But anyway, yeah, okay.
He was better in Demolition Man than he was in Judge Dredd.
Yeah, I want to get to Judge Dredd because Stallone was also in that, and every time I watch Judge Dredd, it feels like a spiritual sequel or rip off the Demolition Man, which is why I prefer Demolition Man is way better.
Mm-hmm.
Even because Judge Dredd, he never took off his helmet. Stallone took off the helmet. That was his biggest regret about that film. It's like you can tell they were trying to turn Judge Dredd into Demolition Man because of the humor that was in it. It didn't work.
And you would think that they would have let him keep the helmet on just because like Stallone's jaw is so prominent that you would know it was Stallone anyway, even if he had the helmet on. You know, I had my problems with that too. Like all the main characters, like all the related main characters, like Stallone, Rico, and the head judge, I forget his name. They all should have been played by Sly.
Yeah.
Just maybe like Rico could have had his helmet off, Sly had his helmet on. And
yeah, because of the whole clone thing. Yeah.
I was gonna say something real quick because I don't mind Rob Schneider, but didn't the same year he did Surf Ninjas? So what does he have to say? What room does he have? You know. But anyway,
it's weird too because he had a great scene that they took out of Judge Dredd. I guess because Fergie was a character from the comics and they wanted to keep him, because I know that they had reservations for bringing back not the Angels, but they were going to bring back Mean, because in the tie-ins to that, there's a prequel tie-in, a tie-in that takes place at the same time, and then a future tie-in, like a sequel to Judge Dredd. And the cool thing about that is Sly doesn't take the helmet off. The helmet comes off once and you don't see his face. They're like repairing his eyes because he gets his eyes blown out and he gets his cybernetic eyes implants. So they there's that whole scene. But anyway, like Rob Schneider had a death up scene, which I've done that on my channel also, but it's a really, really great heavy scene where like he dies saving Dredd and Hershey, and then that's what fuels Sly to go after Rico, like in that. And then he goes after Rico, but he runs into all the clones coming out, and then he has to fight through the clones, and he's fucking he's like blowing the clones away at fucking point blank range, going Rambo, running through the fucking clone thing, and then he goes after Rico, and
yeah,
great.
Rob Schneider was better here.
I guess they figured they were gonna save Rob for the sequel somehow.
Yeah.
It was a better Demolition Man is a better movie than Judge Dredd. It goes to show you, Stallone should have been in that version of Carl Urban. That would have been perfect for him. He should have done that version with Carl Urban's Dredd.
Well, I saw on your channel that they wanted to do that, right? They want to cross over that now. I think they could do that if they do the time belt story. They could do it where they could have Carl Urban and Stallone's character, and at the same time they could do the Dark Judges and Judge Death, because they touch on that in the Dredd sequel, in the Stallone Dredd sequel.
It kind of sounds like what they're doing with that new Spider-Man movie, having Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland. You know,
Yeah.
Like there's a scene where like Sly has to fight T-Rex, and then after that he shows down with Judge Death, right? And it's exactly like the scene in Cobra, where that whole, this is where the law stops and I start scene. It's exactly like that.
Like that scene in Carl Urban's version where he said you can't do anything. He puts up the gun. He shoots the flare in his mouth.
Yeah, the hot shot.
Exactly. That's why Stallone should have done that version. That would have been awesome for him.
Well, if people have enough money, they can find it. But I'm telling you now, it's not an easy thing to find. You're probably going to pay $200 or $300 per issue, if that, because I've tried buying these like on the market. I can't find them anywhere. I've only been able to see digital prints of them. I would love to have this collection. It's a 23 issue collection for the sequel. I used to have the DC line. There was 2 DC lines. I had one. I had the first 18. Then there was a 13. And there was like a kind of like a mag tie-in, like a behind the scenes, how they had to rebuild, because like the Judge Dredd universe is linear, like the Judge Dredd from the 70s is the same Judge Dredd now, but they went back and rebuilt the whole Judge Dredd universe specifically for Sly, and they gave him like a solid year run, like a 52 issue run, and over like 3 production houses. And it was really, really, really big. Like, everything that the movie wasn't that you wanted to see is in those books. But the thing is, they're very hard to find. You can find them online, but getting like the whole thing. I wish I still had my comics from when I was a little kid, because I collected like the first tier of that run. And wow, it's just wicked version of Dredd that I don't think, like, it's just weird, like the movie we got just feels so stripped from what they were trying to do with it. And I think if they just would have left it alone and went the way that they wanted to, I think it would have been really great.
They did redeem themselves with the Carl Urban version.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I want to do a Carl Urban one too, because I've been collecting these.
Carl Urban gonna come out with a Dredd TV show. When is that gonna fucking happen?
I don't know. They just built a not a theme park, but like a Judge Dredd place somewhere in the UK. They're building this big place that you can go to, like a Mega City 1. I guess like a theme. I don't know. Kind of like I don't know what's gonna be in there, but it's like it's like going to 2000 AD.
I want to happen. What is taking so long with this thing? Carl Urban's been talking about this and talking. It's never happened. What the fuck is taking so long with this?
Well, I know that
Good question.
They started writing those stories because, okay, there's a script. There's a storyboarded version of a script for the first movie, which I'm dying to get. Every time I go to buy it, I forget to buy it. It's like a coffee table book, but it's like the original version of the Carl Urban Dredd. And then there's these new tie-ins that come into it, like add-ons that they started making later. That I started collecting the digital versions of them, and they're like the story after. I think it's 2 trade paperbacks, so it's like 2 sequels. If you read it with the original script, it's like its own trilogy, its own Carl Urban trilogy. And I guess I don't know if they're gonna try to film that or if they're gonna do something new. I also heard they were gonna do a series, so I don't know.
Yeah, but they kept saying they do a series. It was going to take on Netflix, but when is it going to fucking happen? When?
I don't know. But the thing I like about them is they said that they want to do all of 2000 AD. So, like, say if they do like a season of Dread, you're gonna have like other things in there. Like you're gonna have ABC Warrior, you're gonna have Flash, you're gonna have Stromium Dog. You're gonna have like all those other great 2000 AD characters. Like Flash is so amazing. Like there's a scene in the Judge Dredd in the Stallone one where Sly takes on one of the T-Rexes from Flash, because Flash is basically like in the future, like the food, like I guess it's in the wasteland, the food source is limited, so they send people through time to the prehistoric age to kill dinosaurs and harvest the meat from the dinosaurs into the future. And Sly ends up fighting one of the T-Rexes from that series in the Judge Dredd sequel. It's fucking awesome. Man, we got off of course tonight.
I know you're good. You're good. No, it's just a little tiny bit left.
But it was interesting. It was interesting, though. Yeah.
But the way they kind of introduce, and actually, let me correct myself on that. We first have a Rob Schneider sighting after Dennis Leary sighting, but I kind of got the vibes. Like when you see Dennis Leary's character, did you ever get the first impression? Okay, he's got to be the villain.
Yeah.
I never had that feeling he was a villain. I just felt like maybe there's something about this character that's mysterious that we don't even know. And then when the movie goes on, you realize that he's a freedom fighter. He's like he's rebelling against the snowflake bullshit that's kind of like relevant today, And so, yeah, of course, that classic speech he has. It's funny, but it's true because it's relevant. It's for real.
That's going to be a great moment when we get to that. And then the last little bit here, we have Huxley at the station talking to Troy Evans' character. Troy Evans you've seen before in Under Siege and other movies, Ace Ventura. But the little bit of dialogue here, he's like, yeah, there was defacement on public buildings, wall smudged with scandalous graffiti. And she's like, really? And that's where the 15-minute mark hits. So that's kind of it right there from the 10 to 15-minute marks. The 10 to 15-minute mark of the movie.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a lot right there. And
more mentioned where they couldn't touch each other.
Yeah, actually, that comes up. Let's see here. I think that comes up at like a little bit. Let's see. I know what you're talking about, where they do the air high five.
Right.
I think it comes up in the next section.
Okay.
Or maybe the one after that, because that's where Phoenix is out in the streets.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, this episode, I think, was about as long as the last two we did put together.
Yeah. I'm like, wow.
Do you guys want to do an intermission and do another one?
Yeah. We can do that. Let me. Let's wrap up here, but yeah, a lot to unpack in the next one, definitely for sure, because we got Simon breaking out and all that stuff. But what are you guys' thoughts on this section, looking back, the 10 to 15-minute mark, and sort of diving into that?
I think it's set where what's gonna happen for the rest of the film pretty well, of where. Going back to what I said about society today, and I think it was a good setup of Spartan's character and Simon Phoenix's character and Sandra Bullock's character in the future, setting it up. I think they did. I think it was totally well done.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I learned a couple of things here too. Like, I know definitely some stuff I've overlooked. It's gonna be interesting. Like, next time when I get my notes back, to see if there's any more stuff that maybe we can glance over really quick before we go into. I guess by then we'll be at like 20 minutes, the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, yeah. Next up is the 15 to 20 minutes, and I do have, in case if we get to it tonight, we'll see the 20 to 25. But next,
I'm gambling, man. I'm feeling pretty confident.
But all right, so we'll see you guys for the next part, which we'll cover and dive into the 15 to 20 minute mark of Demolition Man.
We'll be back.